Hey all, I just want to make a quick video and show you how to change both the riser block and the threading head for the Baxter's Threadmaster. Alright, so what I've got going on here is I've got my instructions. These are available from bestwoodtools.com. You also get a printed copy every time you buy a Baxter's Threadmaster. But this has some really important information aside from just step-by-step of how to make a threaded box. Things like the thread depths for the various threading heads. That's pretty important because when you change the pitch, you change the amount of depth that you're going to cut using your adjustment knob here. But in this case, because I'm changing the riser, this piece right here, which is for my Laguna 1216, and I'm going to put my Jet 1014 to use. This is my dedicated threading lathe, so I need to change out that riser. So one of the most important things here is what not to hit, and that's these lead screw adjustment screws. And it says it right here in the instructions, don't touch. These are the 3 screws that you want to use. That removes your thread head, okay? Don't mess with the lead screws. That's what makes it so that this threads straight and cuts clean threads. You don't want to touch these. These are the 3 that you need to remove, and then you remove the riser block. 5/30 seconds Allen key. Quick and simple. 12 TPI threader head is gone. Now, this is my riser block for my Laguna 1216. I don't know if you have to use a cross pattern. It's habit. That's how I was taught to change tires. It's habit. Laguna riser block, gone. A little bit of wood shavings in the way. We'll make sure that's all clear. In fact, we will come in here with a little air. Make sure that's clean. Line these back up. Got those 2. Do we have those 2? Nope, we missed one. All right, we'll get all 4 screws lined here. Get them started, maybe. There we go. And they're hanging down, so they're making those other ones slide. So this is the hardest part right here. This is the trickiest part. It's just getting these lined up. There we go. A little bite. All right, all 4 are lined up. Now we just want to tighten those down. Again, I don't know that you necessarily have to do a cross pattern. That's just, like I said, that's the way I was taught to change tires. and produces even pressure. I mean, I guess the argument can be made for or against. You just want these snug. You don't need to crank them down really hard or anything. Just nice and snug. All right, now we're changing this out because we are going to go back to this lathe, but I am also switching to a finer thread head. I'm going to put the 20 pitch threading head on there. So I'm going to keep this box, and I'm going to put both my riser and my 12 pitch thread head in the box. That just keeps it clean and safe and out of the way. And what I've got is a Morse taper collet with a 1/2 inch diameter to go to a 6 millimeter to 1/2 inch adapter sleeve to use a 1/4 inch carbide thread cutter so that I can get down and start making miniatures. And then the last piece of my little puzzle here is the 20 TPI threader head, which just replaces the 12. Give me just a second. We'll unbag this and get it mounted. Okay, my 12 pitch threader head is boxed up and put away. Now, you'll notice you have 3 different screw sizes, or 2 different screw sizes, excuse me. You have 2 different screw sizes. The short one goes in the recess at the top, and the longer ones go down to the bottom of the base. And you just set this out on your riser, and very carefully get your screws to start. Nice and easy. Get that down in there. That's a very tight fit. And just get these to start. There we go. I don't know, again, there's not really a bolt pattern with 3. Don't crank it down until you get all 3 seated. Alright, and we're just going to finger snug this. Doesn't have to be torqued. You're not trying to... This is aluminum, so you really don't want to crank on it and crush it. You want it nice and firm and tight. This is a 20 TPI. And then go back to your 12 TPI threader. You've got a little flat spot machined here, and you want to take off your 1 1/8 or whatever your spindle size is. Mine for these MIDI lathes is 1 1/8. So you want to take this off. This is a little brake, so you can lock that. Loosen that up. Comes right off. Maybe. Loosen that up. There's probably a little bit of... This has been used heavily, so there's probably a little bit of accumulated junk in there. We'll get that off of there. There it comes. You can see there's a little bit of gunk in there. We'll clean that up with some mineral spirits. Just make sure that's nice and clean. We did drop the grub screw. That's why I keep a magnet, a telescopic magnet in my shop. Saved my back. All right. We're going to drop it again. Bend over that time. So get the grub screw started back in there. And blow that out. Make sure there's nothing clogging it. Brand new. Nothing in there. This goes down. This, by the way, is a 3/16 head. All right, you can see that feel where it sets. get it in there, snug it in, locking screw again, and there we have 20 TPI with a 1 1/8 spindle, adapter, ready to go. Now, let's get the 12 pitch put away again, and I'm going to show you how we install this whole collet system. One thing you need to make sure you have is a drawbar that fits your lathe. Also available at Bestwood Tools. This is the drawbar for the jet. And that is actually the key to a tight collet, holding everything together. And we'll start with the 1/2 inch to number 3. So this is a number 2 to a number 3. And this is the number 3, 6 mil to 1/2 inch. That goes in there. So we basically have a collet in a collet. And then this tiny little cutter, which is really, really fine. That's our little tiny cutter. That goes right in there. And don't push it too far. It's the first time I've done this, so I'm learning. We'll get it right there. Set this right here, and I'm going to say that you probably want to offset your cuts, your reliefs in your collets in order to get a complete crush. And then you're just going to feed your drawbar in there. And on this lathe, we have a nice little handle. Excuse me. And you want to tighten that down about a 1/2 turn total. You don't want to overcrank it, but you definitely need to make sure that's snug so that this doesn't spin. You really want to make sure that you have a good snug connection. Don't over tighten it to where you can't ever get this out again, but make sure you have a snug connection. Now realize this lathe is unplugged. There is no power to it. I'll show you the end here. There's the plug. The lathe is unplugged. I'm being very cognizant of the fact that I have a razor sharp cutter head here. This cutter head is very, very sharp, and it's also extremely small. What does that mean? That means that if I'm not paying attention to it, or I'm taking it for granted, if I turn around and just bump it, I can cut myself wide open. So be very conscious, and it's the same with the 3/4 inch carbide cutter head. Same thing. Be very conscientious of the fact that this is extremely sharp. Respect it. Keep your lathe off, unplugged. Whatever safety step you feel is the best to ensure that you're not going to end up cutting yourself with this. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this change. It actually wasn't that hard. Again, probably the most important part of the whole thing, aside from understanding the depth that you need to cut at, is understanding which screws to use and which not to, which is right here in the instructions. Now, if I'm using 20 threads per inch, my depth of cut is going to be 28 1/1000ths of an inch, much less. So I need to remember this table, which is also in the instructions, which you can download from bestwoodtools.com at any time, but you also do get a set of instructions when you order your Baxter Threadmaster. This is really handy to have. That's all I've got for you guys today. Be prepared for some miniatures.